Hello friends, so we are back again today to the course on employment communication, and today we will do lecture 9 and we will be concluding the topic on intercultural communication. So, when we are communicating in a world, as we have already discussed in lecture 8, the introduction to intercultural communication. So, the world is highly multicultural, then there are certain requirements, and these are the concepts which we will cover in this concluding lecture on intercultural communication. The first is how to prepare to communicate across cultures. The second, what price do we pay if we are ignorant of intercultural communication. Then we once again define intercultural communication and we move ahead to the demographic picture. Moving ahead, we will be covering today the need of the situation, the imperative, the need of the hour, how to reduce the strangeness of strangers, that is how to close the cross cultural gap. We will also be covering technology and its effects on intercultural communication. Before we conclude this topic on intercultural communication, there will be some tips. We will provide you some hints, cues, suggestions, clues to improve one's ability to communicate interculturally. So, let us move on. Now, the first point which we begin with today is that we must acknowledge the fact that whether as students or even as educators, me included, effective communication and the ability to understand cultural differences is deficient. There is a need to work in this important area of cross cultural communication. So, first of all, we assess our ability to communicate effectively with persons from different or other cultures, and this is an age, we remember, of increased global contact, the world being a multicultural flat organizational structure at the workplace, diverse people of different cultures working all together in different countries of the world. Consequently, there is a need, urgent requirement to stress on understanding of and to be sensitive to the cultural differences. This is very important. And the more we are able to work in this area, in this important aspect of intercultural communication, the more we are able to reduce cultural ignorance and the more we are able to enhance our cultural awareness of the times and the days which are changing a lot from previous days of our prior generations. The more, please understand, we increase our personal preparedness to communicate effectively at the workplace. Now, what is the cost we pay in case we are culturally ignorant? First of all, there is a term which is synonymous to cultural differences, which is called diversity. Unity in diversity, you must have heard it. So, diversity is the recognition and valuing of this difference, and this is best done by those who fall in the category of multiculturalists. The term multiculturalist is self-explanatory, it is self-defining. It means, and it includes those persons who are respectful of and engaged with persons from distinctly widely different cultures. On the other hand, you have, on the other end of the spectrum, you have those kind of people who are called culturally confused. These are those people who lack understanding of cultural differences, and they may not be interested to understand it either. Then we come to another important concept, which is cultural imperialism. This is the expansion of imperialistic powers' dominion or control over the other areas through the cultural aspect. Finally, if we take steps to eliminate cultural misunderstandings, cultural differences, cultural clashes, we also call it culture shock, we form more meaningful, understandable relations between persons from other cultures, whether it is face to face or offline is immaterial. The relationship stands, the relationship is good. Now, let us come to the thrust of the lecture, and at the outset we define intercultural communication. Now, intercultural communication is the one important base definition, but we have here on the slide 5 different variants, and all are included in intercultural communication. So, intercultural communication is interacting with individuals from different cultures. If you talk about the second aspect, how this takes place, the first parameter of defining cultural communication is race. So, number 2 is interracial communication, which is interpreting and sharing meanings with people across different races. Then we come to number 3, interethnic communication. Again, it is self-explanatory, that is communicating or communication between people from different ethnic groups. Then we have international communication, that is people communicating between different nations like India, Bangladesh, or let us say Pakistan, US, whatever. And the last is intracultural communication. Please note the spelling intra, I-N-T-R-A. Up till now we had 4 intercultural, interracial, interethnic, international. Now we have intracultural communication, which is defined as interaction with members of the same racial or ethnic group or co-culture as yours. So, within our country, let us say for example India or Bharat, we have intracultural communication. We have more or less the same racial group, that is either Aryans or Dravidians, and there are co-cultures or different segments in these 2 major culturally racial groups in the country. Now, there is an element of ethics and communication, which is how to see the other people or the other cultures, and in other words, as is written in the slide, how to see your culture through the eyes of the others, because this is the one and only way by which we can have successful intercultural communication, that is to see your own culture through the eyes of the others. This we have underlined this point because it is important to note and maintain. Next, we have a term cultural imperialism, and we have already covered it in the previous slide. We move further to define culture and co-cultures or subcultures. The first point here, the first term to be defined is culture, which is a system of knowledge, beliefs, values, customs, behaviors and artifacts. Remember, also artifacts, it is very important. Most people would not remember this in a definition of culture, but it is very much part and parcel of culture. I would say, for example, if you are wearing a kada or a bangle and it is part of your culture, for example, the Sikh culture, they wear a kada or a steel bangle, whether male or female. So, these artifacts are very much part of culture. So, culture has been defined as a system of knowledge, beliefs, values, customs, behaviors and artifacts which are acquired, shared and used by members of one community during daily life. And then we come to the group between or within cultures, and they are defined as cultures in the sense of co-cultures or subcultures. Co-cultures and subcultures are defined as groups of people or groups of persons who differ in some ethnic or sociological way from the parent culture. So, let us say for example, if we are speaking about the Dravidian culture towards the southern part of the country India, then we have 4 states. Let us say now we have 5 states: Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, which were formerly Andhra Pradesh, we have Kerala, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So, these are the co-cultures or the subcultures of the main culture, which is the Dravidian culture. Moving further, within these cultures and co-cultures, there might be marginalized groups of people, and these are, for example, let us say the Dalits, or let us say the Harijans, whom our father of the nation Mahatma Gandhi called children of God, Harijan, children of God. So, marginalized group is defined as a group whose members feel like outsiders, because they may be doing the lowliest of the lowest jobs in the society. They may be manual scavengers, they may be those who are involved in the very lowly works available. So, there are 3 ways by which marginalized group, let us say marginalized group once upon a time would also have included gays, lesbians and queers. So, as I was saying, there are 3 ways by which marginalized group members can try to be included in the main culture or the mainstream culture of the place. The first is assimilation. Assimilation has been defined as the means by which co-culture members attempt to assimilate with members of the dominant culture. So, for example, members of the marginalized group might try to talk about the topics, converse about the topics prevalent or common among the dominant culture. They might try to dress their way, they might try to behave in their way, they might try to adopt their eating manners or food styles. Next is accommodation. This is defined as a strategy of the co-culture members who attempt to maintain their cultural identity even while they try for assimilation, or let us say they try to establish relationship with members of the dominant culture, what is called the mainstream culture. So, as the term is accommodative of, they would try to be accommodated within the dominant culture or the main culture, and this is very well understood by you. It is a very common way by which people would ensure their survival as well as retain their uniqueness. Then we come to separation, the last term, and sometimes marginalized groups in cultures or cultural communities resist the attempt to become part of the mainstream culture. So, they might try to keep safe distance, they will keep their own distance, they will not mix or mingle with members of the dominant culture, they will be secluded among themselves. For example, let us say you might have heard about the Jorawa tribe in Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and this was a group of tribals which until very recently were recluse. They were hedged in within themselves. They avoided all kind of means to be accommodated in the mainstream culture of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And even now, many of their children or grandchildren have not been exposed to the development of present day India, not to speak of Andaman and Nicobar Islands by itself. I would like to show you a small video before we move ahead. So, I hope that you have enjoyed this short video, especially the title Cross Cultural Misadventures. Basically, I have been trying to stress the importance of understanding intercultural communication so that we do not have these kind of negative episodes, experiences or misadventures as such. Now, let us go back to cultures and co-cultures. Now, if we have the idea of co-cultures, normally they would be trying to assimilate or be accommodated in the mainstream culture. But for this they would have three different type of approaches, and that would be passive, assertive, aggressive or confrontational. So, passive, assertive or aggressive, which are also the three main communication styles: passive, assertive and aggressive. This is a table 2.1, which shows the preferred strategies and communication approaches of marginalized groups with the mainstream culture. The first strategy, if is of separation, then the communication approach of the co-culture members would be passive. For example, lunching alone, living in an area with similar people. As you know very well, for example, that in London, UK, there is one area where only Indians are staying. Then we come to the accommodative approach. If the co-culture or the marginalized group would like to be accommodated, then the communication approach would be assertive. It would be assertive. And for example, this would be shown by wearing a yarmulke to work or wearing a sari to a party, because they would like to be part of the greater or the larger group. And the third is the strategy assimilation. If this strategy is employed, the communication approach which we could subsume it under would be aggressive or confrontational. For example, staging a protest. So, moving further, we all understand by now that culture guides communication. In fact, a great and a very renowned researcher in communication, Edward T. Hall, we have mentioned him in our lecture on body language or non-verbal communication, said that culture is communication and communication is culture. In other words, the entire understanding of communication is based on one idea, and that is culture. So, culture guides communication. Here we need to know again two terms. The first, what does it mean when we say that a community or a people are ethnocentric? Ethnocentrism is a tendency to see your own culture as superior to rest of the other cultures, to see negativity in all the cultures other than yours, to see your culture as superior most. On the other hand of the scale is cultural relativism, and this is acceptance of other cultural groups as equal, not lower, in value to your own group. So, of the two, of course, you understand that we must embrace cultural relativism. If we are to succeed, if we are to flourish in the workplace today, our attitude must be of cultural relativism. Now, let us look at diversity in more focus, in more depth, in more detail. You all have heard of the term melting pot philosophy. It is a concept in the Americas, and the idea is that all the communities or all the people of different cultures who came to settle in the great United States, they kind of assimilated within the dominant culture. So, it may be the Native Americans who were the first settlers in the United States, it may be the Hispanic Americans, it may be the Chinese American, it may be the African Americans, whatever it is, whoever came, it may be the white people who came from the United Kingdom, whoever came, they embraced the dominant culture of America. And in fact, they have a national motto. The national motto of Americas is E pluribus unum, E pluribus unum, which means one out of many, one out of many. The idea of melting pot philosophy in American literature or American history is that America is a great land and it has assimilated all the people who came from different cultural backgrounds to make this nation great. So, similar to that is the concept of cultural pluralism, which means adherence to the principles of cultural relativism, to relate, to find out similarities and points of commonality with other cultures. So, cultural relativism, those who practice cultural relativism are those who believe in cultural pluralism. So, if we continue to explore further the cultural differences across communities and peoples of the world, we have 4 scales on which we do it. First, let us say the idea of individualism versus collectivism. In the workplace, what happens is there are 2 types of cultures in the workplace. The first is the culture which is individualistic, and individualistic cultures are those cultures in which the individual goals are stressed. For example, the Western societies, the America, the United Kingdom, so on and so forth. On the other hand, our side of the world, that is Asian countries, Japan also to certain extent, South Asian countries, we are collectivistic cultures in the sense that we believe that the group goals are more important. So, when we talk about individualistic cultures, what we mean is the I or the group leader is more important, and in the case of the collectivistic cultures, it is the we or our collective efforts which have led to the success of the group or the project at the workplace, which is more important. The second scale on which we explore cultural differences is high context versus low context, and this refers to the idea that there are certain communities or cultures which are highly tradition bound, and they have an indirect way of communication. On the other hand, you have low context communication or low context cultures, which is about a system or a method or a scenario or a situation or a group of people or community or their behavior, which encourages directness in communication. And it is more important to remember that we are moving to the third aspect of cultural differences, which is high power distance and low power distance. High power distance cultures are those cultures which are based on power differences in which the subordinates are highly deferential to the superior. So, if the boss comes or if the boss is somewhere around, most of these people belonging to high power distance cultures would be very subservient and bowing and showing all kind of respect to the boss. On the other hand, you have low culture power distance cultures that believe that power should be used only when legitimate. So, you can very well understand that this is the eastern part of the world, high power distance cultures, and low power distance cultures are those peoples who reside in the western side of the world. Fourth one is masculine versus feminine cultures, and masculine cultures are those cultures in which the members value male aggressiveness and material symbols of success, strength, so on and so forth. On the other hand, feminine cultures, these are those members who value relationships more, they involve with tenderness with each other, and they ensure a high quality of their life. The feminine cultures are, for example, the country called France, and the masculine cultures may be for example some African countries where male aggressiveness and material success are more important. Now, there are some ways by which we can reduce the strangeness of strangers. What I mean by this is that we can try to be interculturally rich or positive. We can increase our intercultural communication successfully. So, let us move further. We need to identify the influences on cultural identity or the idea of the self, the cultural aspect, and on the other hand, number 2 is to think about what is the effect of stereotypes and prejudices on our intercultural communication exchanges. Stereotypes therefore are defined as mental images. It is not that it actually exists, it is simply a mental image. It is something in your mind, between the two temples. These are about how, these are in fact dictating how we guide our reactions. So, we stereotype, for example, saying that people of the southern part of Africa or people of the southern part of the United States are the Negroes, or the Afro-Americans are those who are stereotyped as violent, given to drunkenness, so on and so forth. So, this is stereotyping, and this is related to the second term there, which is prejudices. It is a positive or a negative prejudgment. So, for now you might have heard that prejudiced or prejudiced, you might have felt that it sounds like something negative, but prejudices are both positive and negative. It is a positive and a negative prejudgment. So, prejudice of anything, anyone, any situation, any culture. So, for example, I might have a prejudice against, let us say, Malayalis or whatever. Now, we come to the important point of the way in which today technology has impacted intercultural communication. We are now very active on the social media. We exist as much in virtual neighborhoods as in real communities, and this is a kind of online surrogate community. It is not the actual real workplace or living space. On the other hand, we have so much of influx of technology in today's world, that there is the idea of a digital divide. There are some people who have too much of access and control and power and usage of information technology. On the other end of the spectrum are those who have no access to digital media or digital content. So, there are a group of people in this digitally wired world who are haves, and there are those who are have nots. This is called digital divide, which is the information gap between the haves and the have nots. There would be some advices on how to improve your ability to communicate interculturally. First is we must prevent ourselves, rather I think we should control ourselves from formulating expectations based solely on our culture, because the rest of the world is so many other different cultures. Number 2, we must try to understand that if our education has been faulty, then we are not able to communicate successfully, because it impedes, it is a barrier to our understanding of people across who are belonging to different cultures. And number 3, let us make a commitment to develop communication skills and abilities so that we have a peaceful multicultural world. Let us summarize the chapter and let us summarize this topic on intercultural communication. To the extent we reduce cultural ignorance and enhance cultural awareness or relativism, become more culturally pluralistic, we increase our personal preparedness to communicate effectively at the workplace or living space, as I said. Number 2, there is a need to eliminate cultural misunderstandings so that we can facilitate the development of more meaningful relations between persons belonging to different diverse cultures and societies and backgrounds. Number 3, intercultural communication has been defined as the process of interpreting and sharing. Please remember, interpreting and sharing meanings, the message of the communicative act. So, intercultural communication has been defined as the process of interpreting and sharing meanings with individuals from different cultures. Let us move further. We need therefore to understand differences between general culture, that is the main culture, and the co-culture, subcultures. We need to understand, revise the meanings of term ethnocentrism, on the other hand cultural relativism, melting pot philosophy and cultural pluralism. This means, if we are able to interpret cultural variations, it means we are, in other words, learning to appreciate the differences between 4 parameters: individualism, collectivism, high context, low context, high power, low power, and masculine and feminine cultures. And this will the understanding we gain from our experience of cultures other than ours influences our communication style and the way in which we prefer to act in certain communication styles. So, we agree that the lessons which are taught by culture influence our communication styles and our communication preferences, but still there are certain techniques by which we can in fact prepare ourselves better to face the communication challenges of today as well as the future. For many of us, internet or the digital media is facilitating this task. It is helping us. I am not saying I am not against technology, but digital media or internet is helping us by bringing diversity and culture into our lives. These are the references I have used in the preparation of this lecture 9. Thank you so much and God bless you.